more, right? Because I think at the end of the day, Web3 is here to stay. I'm 100% Web3 is here to stay. If not, I would cut my dick off, right? I think this is definitely here to stay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
GM. Welcome to the GM show. If you're new to the show, I want to introduce you to my three favorite things, which is the ABCs of the show: Asia focused, builder friendly, and cool vibes only, powered by Memeland, home of Stakeland and the three NFTs, Captain's Potatoes and You, the real MVP. My name is Karen and I'm your co-host as well as head of social for Memeland. Hi, Casey.
Hey, everybody. I'm Casey. I'm a builder, investor, event organizer. A lot of people know me about that. Karen and I love talking to founders and creators, and we're excited to be able to bring this show to you live from the GM Show studios in Hong Kong, where each week we chat to the most exciting builders in the Web3 space. This is episode number 44.
44, lucky 44. If you're excited to be here, show us some love, some emoji love on X, YouTube, and Twitch, where we're broadcasting live so you can see our faces. But some people don't want to see our faces, so you can still listen on X Spaces, audio only, because we love you.
Yep, that's two ways you can enjoy the GM show every week. So before we begin, let's hear a quick word from our chairman.
What is discussed on the GM show is not investment advice. We may or may not have ownership interests in the projects we are talking about, but this is not investment advice in any way, shape, or form. And this is not Sir David Attenborough.
All right,
Great. All right, so remember last year, I think it was September, you and I, we went to Singapore, and Ray and the whole Memeland team, actually the whole Memeland team was there, right? We were there for Token 2049. We had a party. We talked on some panels. I think we had a good time, right? It was a really cool place. We met a lot of Web3 builders back then. What is the one thing you remember about Singapore last time?
We love Singapore. We had this epic party looking over the river, and we just had a great time. We meet like some really cool people, and I think like it's time to bring some of these people back on the show.
Great. Yeah, we met a lot of people. We want to bring more Singaporean teams onto the show. So Imaginary Ones is from Singapore. They launched in 2022, and they have some great traction so far in Web3 as a Web3 entertainment brand with their cute bubble characters, right? They just closed an investment round with some big Web3 investors like Animoca from Hong Kong, of course, Cypher Capital, Eden Holdings, and they're partnering with OKX and Samsung. The Imaginary Ones community has been demanding this show to happen ever since we were in Singapore, so we're excited to finally have them on the show. Who is our guest today, Karen?
Yes, this person is chasing us today on the GM show. We have the co-founders of Imaginary Ones, one of Singapore leading NFT collections, a techie by training. He's a self-taught animation artist and literally picking it up one tutorial online at a time, and in parallel picking up multiple creative awards for this work. And that led to the birth of his first venture, a motion design specialist firm working with the likes of Coke and Google on high quality digital content. In early 2022, he launched Imaginary Ones with a drop of 8,888 NFTs that are snapped within minutes. And they have launched Imaginary Rides, Imaginary Artifacts, and about to launch Bubble Coin. The project believes is using art to spread love, positivity, and creativity, building the next Disney of Web3. Please welcome to the show the COO and co-founder of Imaginary Ones, Clement Chia. GM.
GM, man, thanks for having me. And that's like a really, really epic intro. That's really epic. Thanks for having me, man. I mean, like, yeah, our holders are definitely asking for a long time, but happy to be part of the show right now.
Awesome.
Awesome.
GM Clement.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, let's start off with just an update of what's happening in Singapore since we were there for Token. It's Hong Kong and Singapore have always been kind of friendly rivals in all kinds of tech things, right? Ever since Web 1 and Web 2. So Web 3 is heating up. Both of our budgets, our government budgets came out. Lots of Web 3 incentives and engagement plans going on. But just tell us from the street level, like what's happening in Singapore. Are there more builders coming out? There are more products starting because of the excitement around Token, around Web 3 in Asia. What are you hearing? What are you feeling out there?
Yeah, I think the sentiments of Singapore is getting better because I think in the bear market it got a little bit quiet, but right now in the bull market everybody's like super vibrant. I think at the 2 years ago there was a lot of builders in Singapore that still believes in the Web3 and the crypto space, right? So now is the time that a lot of the products are coming out, like I mentioned, Arc has so many different huge believers in their community now, and it's growing. And for imaginary ones, we have so much things going on, right? And I think as a general aspect of what Singapore is like, there are a lot of aspiring people that wants to be part of Web3 right now, and I think the education system is probably going to change, and people are more involved in the whole entire blockchain technology. So yeah, it's booming. I'll say it's booming.
Awesome. Okay, let's get to the interview. We ask the same 20 questions to each week's guest to get some insight into their day-to-day life. What inspires them and what lessons can they pass on to the next generation building a Web3? Karen, what's the first question?
Yes, let's do the warm-up stuff. What's the one app you have on your home screen that not many people do?
I am a pretty boring person. I'll say Todoist. As it's like a reminder, and it is like an app that when I say something, I just want to write it down so that I can remember the next hour, because there's so many decisions that I make across the day. So I need the information before and after all the time. So yeah, Todoist.
Good. That's a good one. Number 2, what is the book you've given most as a gift and why?
One book that actually had a huge impact on me was Lee Kuan Yew's Hard Truth to Keep Singapore Going. That is, I'm a huge fan of him because he's the founding father of Singapore, and I just love how he managed to bring Singapore from a village island to where we are at the first, where we are at a metropolitan city right now. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of Lee Kuan Yew.
Okay.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Everybody in Singapore is.
it is.
Everybody tells me that's their favorite book. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is something that has greatly influenced your life? It could be, a person, a movie, or comic book, or animation or anime that you're into.
Yeah, so when I was growing up, in the early days, I played a lot of Warcraft, Counter-Strike, Dota, and stuff like that. I think those are the things that deeply impact my life in a creative form, because they help me open up my world in terms of imagination. And if you look at the Web3 side, I would say one person that deeply inspires me is Beeple. I was following him for more than 10 years actually, when I was watching tutorials back then, and saw his growth from just drawings to all the way to 3D renders that he created today. So yeah, he's a huge figure in terms of what I do in terms of my art. But yeah, there's multiple factors like gaming, artists, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Besides your smartphone, what is the one gadget or product in your life that makes it better?
Oh man, I'm just gonna say I'm really, really boring. I use my phone and my laptop all the time. So the other, it's not really a gadget, but my family. I'll say my family makes my life a lot better.
Your family?
Yeah, because that's the only two things that I use, right? The mobile phone and the laptop. Else I don't use anything else.
Really? You don't use like a exercise machine or something like that? A game? You don't play PlayStation or anything like that? Those kind of things?
I seldom game nowadays. I mean, I play a little bit of Fortnite now.
All right, great.
It's still on my laptop, right? And I still do skipping here and there. We got this jumping rope, right? Skipping rope, and it has this counter, but it's not working for a while, so it's not really reliant at the end of the day. But yeah, I think I'm still a big fan of my phone and my laptop. That's my everyday life.
Okay, good enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Great. Okay, let's get personal. What is an early job that had you learned an important lesson from? Is it from your advertising days, or even before that?
Right. I started off in the early days as a computer scientist because that's my education. So I was a front end developer in and advertising agencies, and that I wanted to create cooler websites all the time. So I actually went to watch a tutorial day by day to try to learn animation, and I think that is where I sort of like found my calling and what I really love to do. So that sort of kind of changed my life, and through the skills that I acquired through animation, I managed to build multiple businesses out of it, and yeah, I mean it's been a great journey so far, and like I never look back after years of in the advertising agencies, because like I think in the advertising agencies I was doing quite a bit of like huge clients work, and that sort of like changed my perspective of how I look at brands and how I pitch to brands. So yeah, I think it's a journey of life, and yeah, I'm happy to be part of it.
Okay. Great. What does a normal day look like for you? What's your daily routine? What time do you wake up? What time do you eat lunch? What time do you log off? Do you log off? And what time do you hang out with your family? And what time do you go to bed?
On the weekdays, I'm a workaholic. So on the weekdays, I work a lot. So I wake up at 8 or 9, and I go to the office at probably 9:30 or 10. And it's endless. I mean, this period of time is endless amount of meetings. So I normally don't do lunch at all. And I work till like maybe 10, 11, and then I'll knock off from office maybe, and then I come home and I'll open up my Twitter, and then I'll carry on like just seeing what's happening in the space. So yeah, but for the weekends, I try to spend a little bit more time with my kids and my family, because like on the weekdays I don't spend much time with them. So I'll try to put in some time and try to be a family figure in the family. Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, I heard something from your other interviews about an unusual habit, but I don't know if you want to talk about it, because I heard that you're a dancer. So I wonder if you still dance.
Yeah, wow, you actually did a research. So me and David used to be dancers long time ago, when we are probably 18 to 21 years old, and we are like professional in some ways, and but we probably can't do it now, man. We're like really old. So but yes, I think that phase of my life sort of like, I think, opened up the creativity of things, right? I think and also taught me a lot on how being working really hard into something that you love can make a difference in your life. And yeah, so I used to be a dancer. David, my co-founder, used to be a dancer. But I think at this current phase, an unusual routine. I'll say, like, after watching so many tutorials across the years, once in a while I'll watch some like After Effects or Cinema 4D tutorials. That's just like a habit. But right now, I'm very like into the crypto space. I actually watch a lot of this YouTuber called Cryptosaurus. I'm not sure if you know him. Hi, we're George. We're all George, right? So he gives like sort of the whole insights of like crypto on a daily basis, and that is like, he's like my news reporter. I just put it at the site and just receive the information. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's unusual habit, but yeah, this is what I do on a daily basis.
Yeah. What kind of dancing did you do?
We did hip hop, man. Hip
hop. Okay.
Yeah.
You guys some dance like in the company, in the office?
I mean, once the music plays a little bit, you just move a little bit, but you just try not to keep it noticed.
That's good.
But
That's good. So you do hip hop dancing and you watch After Effects tutorials. That is, I think, the unusual mixture of habits. So that's great. That's great. Great answer. All right. Number 8. What new belief or behavior or habit has most improved your life? This is something a lot of people have taken over during the pandemic that maybe changed their life. Like maybe, go for a run every 3:00 p.m. or maybe they break for video games every hour. I don't know. What kind of, what's something that, besides listening, like obviously listening to your crypto news is something new that's probably improved your work life, but is there something that's maybe improved your work-life balance recently?
Yeah, I'll say I'm similar to most of the COVID period people. Like I was exercising a lot at home, and that created a habit for me to keep my mind straight right now. So right now on a like an alternate day basis, I don't do it every day, but I would try to, like, no matter how late I end for my work, I will actually try to skip for a while, like 30 minutes or whatsoever. So, and that's the point where, there's nobody asking me questions, or there isn't a need for me to answer any questions. It's just me and myself. So that's great, because like it keeps my mind sort of like really really clear at the moment, and it helps me. I'll say it helps me relax. But during the COVID period, I was actually doing a lot of art, and there was just like, if you see like my Instagram or just the old art in my foundation, a lot of them are actually created during the COVID period, because when I create art itself, I can sort of like, portray how I see the world through the things that I create. So and those after it became viral, and when Imagine Ones blew up, all of this art became big. I remember creating one art for the COVID period. There was this like 2 spheres before Imagine Ones, and there was this period where, like, in the COVID times, like the whole world was burning and everybody was very depressed. And this when I created that art and posted it up. It went viral. And it's just for me to tell the world that it's actually not that bad out there. Just stay positive and stuff. So I've got multiple habits, but creating art, just doing a little bit of exercise, sort of like clears my mind in a way. Yep.
Great. This is probably also related to the last question, but when you feel overwhelmed, what do you do and how do you relax? And I heard that you love making animations that is satisfying. Can you talk a little bit about the everyday pieces that I think you also mentioned just now?
Yeah. So when I created the everyday pieces back then, that was before NFT became big. Or I just created it when I was actually running 2 businesses back then. My very first business, Offset and Ophio, before Imaginary Ones. So I was creating a lot of like big clients with Apple and everything, right? So I wanted to tell my own story. So I created this art for my own Instagram where I had no expectations at all. I just put it out there, and it's for myself. And so when I created as on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, they started to gain traction on their own, and it became viral. So it's all these spheres that doing satisfying things, like that, they bounce or they just slide it and stuff like that, and in a very colorful world, similar to what we are seeing in Imaginary Ones now. And they when they became viral, I started collaborating with like Pink, L'Oreal, Samsung, Sotheby's, Van Cleef and stuff. So I'm gonna say I'm very blessed. But that is one way of like I created it just for me to feel distressed in some ways, but it turned out to be something much bigger. And but when I feel really overwhelmed, sometimes I also like watch a little bit of like Friends or Family Guy. That's one way to sort of like distress, because I've watched it countless times and I've already know the outcome of the show, right? But at the end, when I'm watching it, I sort of like I feel like my brain sort of like switches off, and I can just it sounds really depressing, but it's not really that.
That's what Friends is for.
I
Friends
do
is for that. For switching off your brain.
It's not for the laugh, right?
I've watched Friends like at least 10 times, like through back-to-back 10 seasons. It's just kind of comforting because you already knew what's going to happen on the show.
Yes.
And it's always kind of still funny. So I understand that.
Yeah, I think everybody watches that so many times and they know the outcome. But yeah, it's just a moment to either just like, just not think about anything at all. Yeah. And just have some good laughs, right?
Next question. What is one failure you've experienced and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I'll share a little bit in terms of my my entrepreneur journey. So in my second business of Ophio, an online video platform. So after our very first business, Offset, a motion design agency, then me and David started building the second platform, which is we want to help users create short videos quickly. So in the early phase, we actually, we had an idea of what we wanted, but we actually outsourced a lot of the production. And when that product, turned out to be not what we wanted, and of course we reiterate here and there, but it turned out to be like, when it was finished, it was just a little bit off and it was not a right market fit, right? So me and David had that sort of like decision to take back the whole product and build a team internally and that's where you see like, our CTO like Jerome, which is one of our partners in Imaginary Ones, starting to come into the whole entire organization to build that second product that we had. So that was a time where I think we wasted a lot of time and also money. So I think, to me, it's like an entrepreneur journey where you have to learn sometimes to step on some of the landmines to know that you have to fail to understand how to build better, right? So and there's no open book, and there's no like a founder that can do everything right at the very first time. So for us, we learned the hard mistakes in our second startup, but thankfully we pick it up again and redo it. But it was painful because we lost, like I said, we lost money and we lost time. So yeah, it's like at the end of the day, it's part of the journey. But I think learning through that, we know how to build products better. We know how to run a business better. Yeah.
Great.
It's a long answer. Sorry.
No, it's good.
No, it's
Yeah.
okay. I also want to know, the next question is the best investment you've ever made, and what were the returns? Is it on yourself? Is it money, time, energy? What type of an investment?
Yeah, definitely investing in like myself. Like I mentioned, when I spent, I remember after work every single day in my agency's day, I will watch a tutorial when I'm on the bus or on train or home, and then I'll go home and just practice again and again for countless of days. That itself like definitely changed everything in my life. But I think on the other aspect of like when I'm building business, with the very first one, which is offset, I invest a lot in people, right? And that is like employees and everything. So to sort of like help them grow as personnel and leaders. Because eventually as a business grow, you cannot run it yourself. You need leaders that you trust to build a bigger ecosystem. So I think that itself has been a very good sort of like investment, because I love to mentor people in some ways, because when it comes to art, I love to teach and stuff like that. So I think along the way there are a lot of like people in offset or Ophio or Imaginary ones. When I see them grow as a personnel, that to me is a very fulfilling journey, and yeah, very proud of them.
Great answer.
Great.
I hope.
Number 12, you've already said you looked up to the founder of Singapore, but who is someone else you look up to? And do you have a favorite quote from him or her?
Of course, I think the biggest quote is Steve Jobs. I want to put a thing in the universe. That to me is like a huge purpose in life, right? So I use that as sort of like asking myself on a daily basis, like what is my real purpose to do what I'm doing today? Does it make a difference in anybody's life, or it does make a difference in society? So when we build products, we do animation, or we do the Web3 stuff, that is the main sort of a mantra where I want to revolve around.
Great. Okay, here comes my favorite question. What is one conventional wisdom that you disagree with? A lot of people said they don't believe in work-life balance, and I wonder if it's true for every Web3 builder.
There is no work-life balance in Web3 for builders. I mean, I think the golden question is like, as a founder, or at least like what the things that you're doing today, right? You ask yourself like, why are you doing it? So I think like the conventional wisdom is, at least I have it here, is like, if your plan doesn't seem to be working, change direction and try something else. Which I kind of don't believe in it, because like sometimes, okay, number one is like, before you start doing something, you have to really love something, right? Else don't do it at all. Don't even start at all, because you have to be very passionate about something. And if you're passionate about something and you build some that product or that skill set around your career, it won't feel like work at all. And then ultimately, work-life balance is something that's, in my opinion, very optional already. But if you're doing something that you don't like, work-life balance becomes compulsory.
Yeah.
And that's how I see it. Yeah.
I absolutely agree.
Yep.
Okay. Next question is, so you're not a first-time founder, but what is one piece of advice you would give to a first-time founder that wanted to get into, maybe start a Web3 company today?
Yeah. So for Web3 side of things, I think don't be too afraid to try bold and fresh ideas, and that's the reason why we are in Web3, right? Because the sky's the limit, and it's an open book right now, where there's no much of a rules and tell you, or people tell you that this is the right thing to do or that's not the right thing to do. Because if you are a Web2 founder, there are a lot of open books of theories of how you should run a business. But for Web3, it should be very fresh and very bold, and just like just go all out into it. Don't don't be too like distracted, but by what's the next shiny thing, right? I've got to chase it, and or like maybe the next pump of another coin or another chain. I've got to go and chase it and build it there. Ultimately, you're not building anything at all. Have a North Star that you believe for your brand, and stick with it and build something amazing out of it. Yeah.
Great. What is the one worst piece of advice you ever received? And I'm sure like you probably talked to a lot of people, they would give you advice like in terms of like for the business. What's that one worst one?
I used to be told like a developer can never be a designer. So when I was a programmer back then, and I with all my peers, I told them no, I wanted to create better websites. I wanted to go learn animation. I wanted to go learn design, but all the the response was always like, you can never do it. You don't, we are all born with different set, like or left side of brain for developers or right side of brain for designers and stuff, right? So I did not really want to succumb to that. I feel like it can be both. So if you really believe in something that you do and you like, I think anything is possible. Yeah.
Okay. This is one I like. Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, or Elon Musk. Why?
Steve Jobs for me. Yeah, Steve Jobs.
I knew it.
It has to
Every
be.
creative
It has
person
to
will
be.
say Steve Jobs. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure if you guys saw the presentation when he did the iPhone 3, right? Like the first iPhone that he came out with, and that to me was a amazing presentation, because if you look at it, there was like functions after functions of a phone, but he presented it so well. And to think what Apple is doing in this space right now is to create, like, because it gets complex when it comes to technicality of things. But what they are trying to do is trying to change the complexity to a simple ways of how we create habits of our life, right? So yeah, Steve Jobs to me has probably changed a huge habit of humanity. So that is really a huge props to him, man.
Great.
Okay, let's get into the Web3 side of things. When you look back, what got you into Web3? Because you also mentioned like you had the animation studio. Is that
Mhm.
where you started Web3 at the same time? Like what happened?
So Web3 side, my co-founder, okay, previously I was investing in crypto at the DeFi side of things, like Pancake Swap and stuff like that. But me and my co-founder was investing in crypto, and he went to the NFT side and he told me, bro, hey, this is like booming. It's a booming market. Check it out. These are the JPEGs, and I was like, what are we doing? Because I was buying coins, right? So so he told me he managed to convince me to buy my first NFT, and like I was like, wow, this is actually something really fresh, and I kind of can see the connection in the skill sets that we have in our businesses, or at least for me. So that is where I think I started diving deep into the Web3 bowl. And that's when I started creating the 5 characters of imaginary ones in I think two years ago. And that was like when I posted it on Twitter with 5 imaginary ones characters back then. I think, okay, the funny story is me and David posted it on Twitter within the first like 1 hour. Nobody cared about us. Like, there was only like 10 to 20 likes. And we were like saying like, okay, maybe we should just like go to sleep and see what happens tomorrow. And when we woke up, we had like 20,000 followers, and it just became viral. I think the algorithm picked up imaginary one's character, and then it started growing and growing as a whole, as a community. So I think along the way, like, yeah, but I think in the first way of Genesis, it's like David brought me into Web3. He introduced me to my first NFT, and I bought it, and I got addicted to it.
Wow. You went from
Yep.
dancers to crypto bros to
To bubble sellers. Yeah. So
Now
crazy.
Bubble Sellers, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
I
good.
feel-
That's a good
Sorry,
lead to the
sorry.
next question. What was that first NFT? What did you learn from it, and do you still own it?
My first NFT that I bought was Phantom Bear. So Phantom Bear, because I so how David convinced me, because I'm a fan of J Cho, right? So he was like, J Cho was promoting it back then, and I was like, wow, okay, maybe I should just support him. And I actually went to the website to mint it. I think there was a price of 0.2 or 0.3 back then, and And when the whole entire like euphoria moment of NFT happened, I think that the Fanta Bear reached actually 8 ETH. Me and David never sold. So right now we did a round trip, and then now I'm still holding my Fanta Bear. But I don't really like look at it as like a loss in money, because like that was a case of like me learning a lot about the space after that.
Yeah.
Because like, oh, this is how OpenSea works. That's how people like, that's how like people try to list their NFTs, and how social farming works, and things like that that's happening back then. And it was really really new to me. But Fanta Bear is definitely something that taught me a lot in some ways. But yes, we round tripped already, but it's okay, it's fine.
That's the paid tutorial. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to pay to learn, man.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so the next question is probably what your audience is really excited about. Tell us a little bit more, like, what are you working on right now? Why it? Why now? Why you? And I heard that there's like something about a bubble. Please tell us more.
Yeah, so imagine what I'm working on right now is definitely the Bubble token. And why we are working on it, I think Imaginary Ones have evolved from an NFT project to a Web3 entertainment company. So what we've been doing in like ever since we minted in 2 years ago was like to build the foundation of the business, such as like the gaming side, the merchandise side, and the content side. So and that was so we had like multiple products that's already out, like Imaginary Juniors on YouTube. We got this kids channel singing ABC songs and everything with our characters. We've got like our gaming side. We have already 2 games, Bubble Rangers and Bubble Rider. So one being a more Web3 game, which is Bubble Rider back then, and we actually collaborated with Memeland with that also. And Bubble Rangers being an App Store game, which is growing extensively right now. And we've got our merchandise has been a long time, and of course our collaboration with like Hugo Boss for our fashion side of things, and now we've got Samsung and everything. So ultimately we are trying to build a very big entertainment company that can last a really really long time, right? And this is the legacy of it. So during the bear market is, I feel like, in my opinion, it's the best time to build, and right now for the bull market it's the best time to launch a product. So the Bubble token itself is going to be something that we've been planning for a long time, and it's going to be a main key product in the middle of all the entertainment ecosystem to sort of like power up everything. So I think and recently, like you mentioned, we managed to close quite a bit of investment for the Bubble token, like Animokas and stuff. We can start to see like a lot of like strong believers into our, like, when you saw what we've been building across the time. The investors itself, they were pretty impressed, and they were like, okay, wow, this we didn't know you have so many products. But when we shared with them, it was like a no-brainer for them to just to invest. So yeah, we're in a very good place. But of course, like the last 2 years was in the bear market was extremely tough, not gonna lie. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm curious to know about, like, while you guys work with like these big brands like Samsung and Hugo Boss, what's that like to bring these brands on board, and what's that like working with them, like, and delivering the product?
Right. So I'll share a little bit more of like Hugo, because it's a longer partnership. So for Hugo, we started talking 2 years ago in 2022 February actually. So that was when we started talking, and they are interested to be collaborating and stuff. So when we launched it, it was in October, November. So along the way, there was a lot of like legal stuff to settle and brainstorm stuff to set up creativity, because they are a member of company, and they have like so many hierarchies to clear. So things get a little bit slower naturally. That's fine. But I think ultimately, like, Hugo Boss is a very very good partner to have, and they're very open to coming to the Web3 in a very fresh angle. So I remember, like, when we started this collaboration, they actually went to buy like 5 imaginary ones on OpenSea, right? And to think about like a Web2 member of like company to do that for collection, that was pretty amazing. And but through all these different efforts that we've launched across time, like in 2 years ago, I met the CEO of Hugo Boss, and we were talking about this long-term collaboration, and he was sharing me in terms of the stats, like imaginary ones was, in terms of the impressions, that year actually surpassed their biggest event, which is Paris Fashion Week. So I think right now we are in a very long-term partnership that has multiple products that we are trying to launch, and the metaverse and everything. So very very lucky to have them. But I think for every brands, like for what Samsung is looking for and what Hugo is looking for are very different. So we do have different partnerships team to work with these various brands to sort of like craft a narrative through imaginary ones and the collaboration into the Web3 space. I think that has always been our angle. And thankfully, I think imaginary ones itself has this very friendly vibe to this brand. So it's a very easy sort of like collab in some ways. Yeah, because if we have like very scary stuff or very gothic stuff, then of course it becomes a very very kind of different kind of collaborations. But for imaginary ones, it feels very natural for these brands to collaborate with us. Yep.
So does it matter like to really match the style, the visual style of both brands to be able to do a collaboration, or do you have to then alternate your designs?
Yeah.
We try not to alter too much of our designs, but I mean, for imaginary ones, the spherical body will always stay as the primary factor of like our visuals. But the head, I think recently you saw like the Samsung. He has this helmet with the Samsung logo, and for Hugo itself, like they are wearing the Hugo t-shirts, the hoodies and stuff, the caps. So I think it's a way of like how we can do it in a very tasteful way that is still shows the brand well and shows our characters well. So yeah, I think it has to be a good balance.
Yeah, I also have another question because you also talked about like building the Disney of Web3. So when you talked about the junior channel, which is like full of like cute little animation, and I saw like on YouTube Shorts, and like, do you feel like, oh, this is the chance to really educate the younger generation, or like how do you really put Web3 onto the table and like maybe start them young, or how does it work?
I think for imaginary ones, our target audience has always been like a family-driven audience that focuses on like young adults and kids, and maybe female and male, right? So so the reason why we did like imaginary junior is because like you're definitely right. We want to start exposing the younger generations to our characters, because eventually they'll grow up, right? And when they grow up, we hope to be the characters that are somewhat in the Web3 space, and they at that point they don't have to know it, but they fall in love with the characters. They maybe have the merchandise. So it feels like a legacy building. And when we talk about being a Disney in the space, it's just like it has to be like 10 years in the making or 20 years in the making, at least for a generation, right? So that's what we're trying to achieve here. It's not like we have a collection and you have to instantaneously fall in love with it. We're trying to build a long-term legacy in multiple pillars, right? Through the content, the merchandise, and of course the games in the future, because they start with assuming they start with the YouTube content, they buy the merchandise, and then maybe when they grow a little bit older, they are exposed to the games that we built. And then when they reach like their teenage or adults here, maybe when they are in the blockchain world, they'll be like, oh yeah, that is the character that I grew up with. So it has to be a long-term journey for us.
It is a generational wealth and generational.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
It lasts a whole generation. Okay,
Yeah.
what's the last question? we
Well,
have
hold
to
on. I got another question. Now you've started all these questions off. There's a question we never ask anybody, and I want to know because I'm looking at the NFTs. What software do you use to design these guys and animate them? Because they're like these little bubble guys. They're all walking in the same thing, but they all have different color bubbles, and they have different heads, and they're holding different things. What software do you use to do all this?
So this is a mixture of things, and it has been because of like the 10 years of businesses that I built. So I use Cinema 4D and After Effects to sort of like build these characters. But actually a lot of people thought that things that we render every single character through our 3D software, which is technically impossible, because one would probably take you half an hour, and you have like 8,888 of it. That would take you. So I remember starting the post in January, right? And we launched a collection in April. So it's technically impossible to be able to render so many characters in 3D at such a short time.
Yeah.
So it has to be a linkage of a database through After Effects and Cinema 4D, and it's a permutation through database to make sure make it happen. But of course, to sort of like seamlessly blend everything, the specular, the diffuse, the shadows, everything has to be done right so that it feels like, wow, everything came out from the 3D package. So yeah, it's a mixture of tech and creativity. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And then just lastly, so you're going to launch this bubble token soon. How do I get one if I wanted to get in on it?
Yep. So they are definitely holding an imaginary ones, imaginary rights, or you'll be able to get some form of airdrop for the bubbles. We're not doing any pre-sales or anything because I think we posted this a few days ago. Was like, we don't want to extract any more liquidity from our holders. We actually want to focus on the rewarding side of things. So holding an IO gives you bubbles. Playing the game gives you bubble rangers. And also, we are also going to launch the social farming. So if you like share, retweet, you get some social points, and then of course bubbles. So yeah, these are the three main ways to. And the last thing is imaginary pass. So this is something that we are giving out to different communities to be able to shield our projects in the space. So however they decide to shield, so we will give a certain amount of imaginary pass to different communities. Yep.
Will you give it to Memeland?
Of course. Man. Do you guys want it?
We always like it.
Let's do it. Man. Yeah.
Our community loves passes for anything. They love it. They
love
the alpha.
bubble.
They love it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's awesome to know all the more about it. Okay. So let's get to the last question. You've done a lot of interviews like this, and I'm sure a lot of Singapore media always ask you weird questions about Web3, right? So in 2024, what is one misconception about Web3 that you would like to personally change? Like, what do people believe that you think this is not? I want to change everybody's thinking. Usually it's about the rug pulls and the scams. That's not all scams, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think the stigma that everybody has out there is still extremely strong. I remember giving a talk at one of the places, and there's this a student that was they actually raised up, and then they started asking me this question, like, isn't Web3 a scam and stuff like that. So what my answer was I think in every industry there's always going to be bad actors, and there are also going to be good actors, right? Focus on the good actors that are trying to make a better space, right? And versus I know the news always focuses on this FTX crashes and everything. It's because it's newsworthy, it's fat-worthy, right? And people love fat, but people seldom talk about the great things in the space. And when you do something great, I feel like the space should celebrate it together, and that's how we actually grow, right? And when we celebrate these wins together, I feel that there are more bigger brands out there that wants to come to the space and feel safer to come to the space, and all in all, the whole entire industry wins. I don't really look at imaginary ones just winning. I feel like our wins are actually hopefully bringing the whole entire industry up together, or at least what Memeland is doing is phenomenal, and that it brings so much eyeballs to the space, and that in turn bring liquidity to the space. So what I feel what I want to change is maybe as for the various projects or founders, when we try to promise something out there for project, try to stick by it. Don't overhype everything. I know it's good for marketing, but when it's good for marketing, no doubt. But at least try to stick to the promise, because if you don't do that, it's always the retail that gets hurt. And that's what I'm trying to avoid for at least imaginary ones. We've always under promise and over deliver. And when we under promise, I know that there's a risk of this project is not that exciting. But when we deliver, it's always above expectations, and that is how we've been doing it for the last 2 years, and it's very beneficial for us in the long term of the project. But if you overhype it at the start, no matter whatever product that you build, it's never going to be good enough. That's for sure. So that's how, at least for my business learnings and how I see the space. Hopefully we can change a little bit in terms of the mindset, or at least how retail perceive a project, or do due diligence a bit, do your own research to make sure that that those are the things that can be achieved. Yep.
Yeah, great.
I absolutely agree about the hype thing, because we're looking at that on Memeland as well.
Yeah.
Managing expectations.
Managing expectations is the word. Yes.
Yeah, great. All right, Clement, thanks a lot for your time. We can see your Twitter handle right here. CMT, TAT, or Imaginary Ones to find out more information. What live events are you going to next? Will you be at NFT NYC or will we see you at Token in September?
Yep. So I most likely will be at Token at Dubai.
Oh,
And
Dubai first,
I will
okay.
Yeah, and I will be at Hong Kong actually in May, because there's this blog show.
Yep, blog show,
And
yeah.
so I'll be speaking there. So yeah, maybe I'll see you guys there. And
We're gonna do a GM show live at the blog show.
Yes.
let's do it, guys. So
it.
and at least in the short term, these are the two sort of like plans. I think the later phase, we're still in August, Istanbul. Yeah, so that's also confirmed.
What's in Istanbul?
So that is Istanbul Blockchain Week.
Blockchain Week,
Yeah,
okay.
there'll be a speaker there too. So yeah, I think this year is gonna be a lot of flying for me, but I think one sort of like bring
Amazing.
management wants to figure out this. Yeah.
Cool.
But I'll see you
Great.
guys in Hong Kong. Yeah.
Yeah, or we'll see you in Dubai. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Don't forget to follow us, GM Show Official, Memeland, Stakeland, and our host as well as our guests. We'll see you again next week.
All right. See ya.